This video is brought to you by Ridge Wallet, a slim front pocket wallet available in carbon fiber and titanium. With more than 250,000 sold, a lifetime guarantee and free shipping, get 10% off with the code GOLDFISH at ridgewallet.com. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Wednesday means it's Wilcard Wednesday, and this week's deck is definitely wild. No doubt about that. This is Mono Green Stompy for Legacy, but it's probably not exactly what you're thinking when you're thinking Mono Green Stompy. So it comes from us from Hisumuru Sinatoru, who took it to an undefeated finish in a small Japanese tournament. So congrats to Hisumuru on a super cool deck. A quick reminder before we break down Mono Green Stompy for Legacy. If you enjoyed this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So before we get to the deck, gotta mention, only 244 bucks in paper, 97 ticks on Magic Online, which for Legacy is about as cheap as it gets. Incredibly cheap for the Legacy format. So keep that in mind. I don't know how much winning you'll do with the deck, but it's super spicy and super budget friendly if you're looking to mess around in the Legacy format. So anyway, let's break down this ridiculous Mono Green Stompy deck. So first off, we got a bunch of fast mana. We have 2 Findorn Elves, 4 Llanowar Elves to get our ramping started on turn 1, and then Priest of Titania and Rafellos Llanowar Emissary come down on turn 2 and can make tons of mana. Priest of Titania can tap for quite a bit of mana in our deck. We're definitely not an elf deck, but even with just a Llanowar Elves out, it's tapping for 2 mana, and then our mana base is 100% forest, so Rafellos is just tapping equal to the number of lands we control. So if we play on turn 2, make all our land drops, on turn 3, it's probably tapping for 3 mana. After that, 4 mana, just going up the curve from there. So what are we ramping into with all of this fast mana? And to really understand this, first we got to talk for just a second about Legacy. So if you're not familiar with Legacy, Force of Will is kind of synonymous with the format. It is played in so many decks, lots and lots and lots of the best decks in the format, like 60, 70%, very high numbers, are playing Force of Wills as a free counter spell. There are also some of them playing counter spells and dazes and just other counters. That's kind of what the format's all about. And what I think is going on with this deck is someone really just hates losing to counters, hates losing to Force of Will, and they build a deck to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. So that is kind of the necessary background on Legacy to understand where we're going from here. So we play all this ramp, and we're ramping into 4 copies of Carnage Tyrant and 4 copies of Terra Stopper. So Carnage Tyrant, you probably know it from Standard. 6 mana, you get a 7/6. It can't be countered as Trample and Hexproof. Terra Stomper is like an intro deck card at this point. Comes in the Welcome decks, actually. 6 mana, you get an 8/8 that can't be countered and also has Trample. So if we play like Llanowar Elves on turn 1, Rafellos on turn 2, we're set up so on turn 3, we can just slam a Carnage Tyrant, we can slam a Terra Stomper, and our opponent, no matter how many Force of Wills they have in hand, however many counter spells and dazes, not going to be able to stop it. And then hopefully we just smash over it and close out the game. We also have Prowling Shepherd, which goes even further. Not only can it not be countered itself, it makes sure all of our other stuff can't be countered as well. So if it just sits on the battlefield, our opponent can't counter our Llanowar Elves and all our other random stuff. We also have just some kind of big green stuff. Leatherback Baloth, Ronas Indomitable, just really undercosted Ronas. Going to be in creature form a lot because we have so many super big things in this deck. Leatherback Baloth, just a 4/5 for 3 mana, which is a really big body. Hopefully can't be countered thanks to Prowling Shepherd. Bane of Progress, we gotta have all of our bases covered. You never know in Legacy when you'll run into like Enchantress, let's say, or maybe an artifact-based Tezzeret deck, and then you just spend all your mana casting, maybe an uncounterable thanks to Prowling Shepherd, Bane of Progress, blow up all the artifacts, all the enchantments, make Bane of Progress huge. Cloud Thresher covers those annoying Lingering Souls and Delver of Secrets that often show up in those counterspell decks, so don't have to worry about getting beaten down by a bunch of little flyers. Comes down, knocks all the flyers out of the game, leaves behind a massive body. Then we have a Worldspine Worm, which I really do not know why we have it. 11 mana is a lot of mana. It is very big though. As long as it's not getting Swords to Plowshares, it's going to leave behind some worms when when it dies, so just the top end of our curve. Slam the World Spine Worm, take over the game. We also have some spells, and the spells get super, super weird. So we kind of transition from I hate Force of Will to I had some leftover draft cards. Not yet though, because Natural Order is a legit legacy card. So Natural Order can do some really explosive things. You sack a green creature and you get to tutor for a green creature, put it directly on the battlefield. So in theory, we play our Llanowar Elves and so forth in the early game. By turn maybe 3, we're able to sack a useless mana dork, or not that great mana dork, and turn that into a Carnage Tyrant, a Terra Stomper, a World Spine Worm, to just take over the game with this huge threat. So this one makes sense, but then the rest of the spells are just kind of a smattering of stuff that I don't even know if you'd play in a draft, honestly. A couple of Fogs, just in case you gotta fizzle some combat damage. A couple of Giant Growths, just in case your Terra Stomper or Carnage Tyrant isn't big enough. Couple of Naturalized, because artifacts and enchantments, you just gotta deal with them. You don't want to get caught by that ensnaring bridge, would be too brutal. And then our first pick in our mono green Stompy draft, Hurricane, Bomb Rare, X damage to all creatures with flying in each player, which actually deals with the Delver Secrets, the Lingering Souls tokens that we were talking about before, but also gives us a way to just close out the game with direct damage. It's not efficient, but we make a bunch of mana, we cast it, it doesn't hurt our creatures because they don't have flying, and maybe we just like 8 or 10 our opponent to the face and close out the game combined with our Carnage Tyrant damage. Otherwise, in the mana base, 22 forests, in the sideboard, and this is my favorite part of the entire deck. When I first read this deck list, I literally laughed until I spit out water because it's just so absurd. So remember what we were talking about. Our deck is literally stuffed full of creatures that can't be countered. It has 4 Prowling Separpards, which make it so all of our creatures can't be counted. And then in our sideboard, what do we have? 2 Vexing Sushers, 2 Gaia's Herald. What do? Make it so our stuff can't be countered. So if we actually run into a Force of Will matchup, we can bring in even more counter hate and just further stick it to the people trying to counter our spells. So our stuff is not going to be countered. If somehow our opponent manages to counter something in game 1, we have the answer to our sideboard to make triply sure that their Force of Will is not going to get us in game number 2. Otherwise, Eldrazi Lord of Leaves protects our elves, gives them Forest Walk, over Soul of Dusk, protection from a lot of relevant colors. It can be countered unless we have a Vexing Susher or a Gaia's Herald or a Prowling Separpard, but protection from a lot of removal, Overrun to just close out the game, trampling over limited style, Tsunami to further stick it to the blue players. If our opponent doesn't have a Force of Will, but maybe has counters that cost mana, like Counterspell, we can just blow up all their lands. We are not going to lose to blue decks. And then a couple of Beast Withins, just as a catch-all. And that is Mono Green Stompy for Legacy. And that's our Wilcard Wednesday instant deck for this week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.